What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fann of ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com. And I should say live stream actually because it's a live stream. But today I'm joined by Michael D'Arcy as always of KC Sports Report and Bleacher Report. But Michael, how are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing fantastic, Josh. We're 24 hours away from the Super Bowl. I had the chance to go to Radio Row this week in Las Vegas, filmed a ton of interviews, got to ask all the guys questions. I really feel prepared going into this Super Bowl. Like in previous years, I've done a lot of research, but I got to do hands-on research for this Super Bowl and really talk to guys about stuff that I was interested in and found out a lot more about relationships and how everything works in the NFL behind the scenes. So it was a blast, and I got some interviews that we're probably going to play later on in this live stream. But
Yes.
overall, a really exciting experience in Vegas. And Josh, I think that based on how my week went, I think this game is going to be in Vegas a lot in the next 10 years. It's a great venue spot. It's a really popular spot. I think I saw something that it was the most requested Super Bowl for credentials in NFL history. So it's a very popular spot for the media to flock to, and it was a great first time on Radio Row, and I have no complaints.
Yeah, because I should have really started off with that. But guys, Michael was at the Super Bowl Media Week. He was on Radio Row. He got to talk to a bunch of players, and we're going to spend the first chunk of this stream talking about that and his experience down there because that was really cool. I know you just talked about it a little bit, but I mean, dude, like, kind of talk about how that experience was and kind of what your favorite parts were.
So the trip didn't start off great. I was supposed to be there for opening night. I left for Vegas on a Monday, and I'm in college, so I was kind of trying to save a little bit of money. So I flew Frontier, and I'd never flown Frontier before, and I had a layover in Denver. So I actually, get to Denver, and I'm there. I'm on time. I was supposed to land in Vegas at 3:38, and opening night was at 5 o'clock. So I was like, okay, perfect. I've got enough time to go get my credential and, get to the opening night before the game or before media night starts. And I get a text on my phone that my Frontier flight got delayed till like 4 o'clock. And I was like, oh my gosh. But somehow, some way, even though the flight was delayed, we took off sooner than expected. And we're in Vegas, and I'm counting down the minutes till we get to Vegas because the credentials site for the NFL closed at 5 p.m. and you couldn't get your credential unless you were there before 5. And Josh, when I tell you that we got there, I got to the credential pickup at 5:15 and there was nobody there. I was very upset because I missed opening night. I did not get to go to do that. But the rest of my trip really made up for it. I was really worried that I wasn't going to get the access to the players that there was on opening night. I thought that it was just going to be a lot of filming practices, and you might get to sit in a giant conference room and, talk to Andy Reid or one or two of the players. But no, the way it was set up, once we got there, there was just a bunch of podiums, and you got to walk up and ask a player a question and really get a couple minutes to ask questions per player. And it was an amazing experience. I got to ask Trent McDuffie questions, but I also got to ask a lot of the 49ers questions, which was nice because I knew about these guys going into it, but I really grew in knowledge of what these players were kind of thinking about going into the game. I took a bunch of photos from all the days that I went, which we will also show at some point in this live stream. So overall, it was a lot of fun. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I can show some of them right now because these are pretty cool. We can just go ahead and show them to the people watching. Michael got some good photos while he was down there. Here's one of Kyle Shanahan on the podium. We got another Andy Reid up there. I really like the Andy Reid one. That's a good one. We got Brock Purdy, Isaiah Pacheco. This Mahomes one's a really good one. This looks like one that I would use for like a article thumbnail or something. We got Rashee Rice, and then you also got to talk to a lot of these guys too, and we'll show those later on. But those are just some of the pictures that Michael got to take. And I remember you were telling me he went out and bought all that equipment like the night before, so you could have that down there. And I'm sure that investment was well worth it.
Oh yeah, like those. If I do say so myself, with the help of the KUJ School lenses, I think those are pretty professional grade photos. And actually, I was one of the more equipped guys with a camera there. There was a lot of cameras there, like news cameras, but when it came to like smaller handheld cameras with nice lenses, I probably had one of the better lenses there. And it really helped because that Patrick Mahomes photo, you could not get within 20 feet of Patrick Mahomes. He was the most popular guy that everybody wanted to talk to. And so you really kind of had to squeeze in there and try to finagle your way into getting a photo. And I was
Yeah.
able to kind of sit in for a minute, grab a couple shots. I took probably about 100 photos of Patrick Mahomes, and only 3 of them came out to be any good. So it just shows you that like he's really hard to get to, and he's the guy that everybody wanted to talk to. And the way that the media thing was set up is that Andy Reid and one player would speak at the podium per day. And Patrick Mahomes obviously spoke at the podium on the first day, but Travis Kelce spoke on the podium on the second day. He was the second most popular guy at Chiefs media availability
Oh,
because
I bet.
everybody was like, "Hey, Travis, how's your relationship with Taylor?" And
That
there was somebody from the New York Times that asked a question while he was on the podium and was like, "Hey, Travis, I'm from the New York Times, and I'm literally only here to cover you and Taylor."
that's just I was gonna say too. I was gonna throw a comment in there about how this week we've seen some of the stupidest questions that you could ever hear a reporter ask. There were so I mean, first of all, they badgered Andy Reid about retirement again, and
Yeah.
he just answered the same way he always did. So much Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift. Somebody asked Travis Kelce if who would get a ring first this year, the 49ers or Taylor Swift or something. And then by far the stupidest one was somebody from Germany asked Andy Reid if he thought that the Travis Kelce Taylor Swift relationship was a conspiracy to get Joe Biden reelected. And it's like, what? Okay, like, why are we asking that to Andy Reid of all people? Like, why? I mean,
Now
why are we asking it at all? But like Andy Reid too. Like, Andy's not. He's an old man. Like he's not in all that stuff, and he's definitely not going to answer the politics questions. So so stupid.
did you see the reporter ask Brock Purdy the Lee Harvey Oswald comp? Did you see that?
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
That
That
was
might
the
have been the
worst
worst one. Now that
question.
I think about it.
That's the
Yeah.
worst question.
Oh, just terrible this year. What? I mean, they're just letting anybody in there, I guess.
Josh, I don't mean to say this because I got in. They really do let a lot of people in there that probably shouldn't be in there. And I'll be the first to admit, asking questions to players is difficult. It kind of took me some time to get used to it. And I still think I have a lot of room to go when it comes to really listening to what the players are saying and trying to grasp it. Some of my questions were very surface level, but at the end of the day, it's not like, hey, Travis, you think you're going to marry Taylor Swift? Like I try to keep it to football
Yeah.
and really ask stuff about, game plan wise. And sometimes just dealing with players, you're not going to get a great answer. I know I asked Deebo Samuel if he watched any of, Super Bowl 54 and if he's going to take anything from that. And he very quickly shot that down. Like he didn't watch it. And then I asked him like what he had to do or what the Niners had to do as a team to win this Super Bowl. And he just goes, watch it on Sunday. I was like, great. But at the end of the day, like that's just kind of the price you pay and the chance you take when you ask players questions.
I will say too that I think there is an advantage to being a younger member of the media or a younger reporter because it feels like players are more inclined to engage with you and like because like even just watching the videos that where you asked the player a question, they really just seem extra responsive, like very engaged with you. And it's because they feel like they're talking to someone that's like kind of their own age and not some like 50-year-old, like not Mike Florio creeping on them, asking them stupid questions,
There was one guy, and it was a theme at Chiefs and Niners availability. It was one guy with white hair that George Kittle had to be like, hey, man, the other guys are trying to ask questions and kind of and then he got like mad at George Kittle. So it's just like sometimes there's some weird people in this profession that we want to be in. And I think that those are obviously the bad ones. Most of my questions were kind of just basic. I think the best question I probably asked all week was not even football related. It was about, KU basketball and Trey Smith.
Yeah.
And he kind of talked about his experience and, that one went really well on Twitter. And then I asked Pacheco if he got nervous before the game, and he kind of said that when you're prepared, you're not nervous kind of thing. So my questions weren't exactly like, how do you pick apart this defense? But I think I kind of learned very quickly that if you ask a player that, they're not going to be like, this is what you need to do.
Every once in a while, I think players like that you ask them a question that's just kind of something different. Like so many people are asking, how do you break down this 49ers defense, or what challenge do you think this player presents? Sometimes it's cool just to be like, hey man, like saw you went to a basketball game. How was that? Like Trey Smith, like he smiled as soon as you asked the question about Allen Fieldhouse. And yeah, that got reposted by all the KU socials and stuff. So that was cool.
Yeah.
By the way, this disco light behind me, I should say, because I broke this back out. I used this for our post games and stuff last year when we won the Super Bowl, so I decided I would get it back out. I also did it in part to annoy my parents, because I remember they called me one time after I did one of those, and they're like, what the heck is that disco light in the background? And so I guess it's the disco light now, but I got the disco light back out for the Super Bowl because I think probably brings a little bit of good luck. A little bit more on Media Week for the Super Bowl. So we got some interviews or questions that you asked. We're going to go ahead and play those for you guys, and we'll kind of throw in some comments here and there. But this is a perspective that you won't get on many other channels here on YouTube. So we'll start with Trent McDuffie first, who Michael got to talk to this week. I'll go ahead and play that.
To the All-Pro team this year, second year in the league, really impressive to do that. Speak about some of your teammates in the defensive back room, like Justin Reed and L'Jarius Sneed. How important have they been to your development?
Man, they've been everything, L'Jarius Sneed, I think, is the best corner in the NFL right now, to be honest with you. Justin Reed, Mike Edwards. Last year we had Juan Thornhill. All these guys are great teammates, but off the field, truly care about you. And I know I can go to them with anything I have, any aches and pains, or just anything I need to ask them question-wise. They're always there to help. And so coming in and transitioning in this league, I've just been able to just follow what they do, and everything's worked out.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you what, Trent McDuffie, in my opinion, is one of the best interviewers on the team. He is so articulate. He's so nice to talk to too. And there's some guys, I'm not going to say which ones they are. They're not great interviewers. Like they're not very engaged in the question, or they just don't really give very detailed responses. Trent McDuffie, I've heard great things about his character. He is such a great interviewer. He gave me really detailed answers on 3 different questions. So I love Trent McDuffie, and he's a really good interviewer, and that was just another good answer.
Yeah, he seems like a really good guy to talk to. And then I'm going to play this one right now. This one's going to be Rashee Rice, and I think Rashee Rice is really good too. He just seems like a really happy guy. So we'll go ahead and see what he had to say.
Great rookie season. How has it been playing in the postseason, really transitioning well into the postseason? Has it been different? Has it slowed down, or has it just been like the regular season?
It's just been like a regular season. I just say that because obviously things start to speed up in the NFL, but I would say that because it's my first season, so I didn't know exactly what to expect. So what I did this year, I basically set the bar high, and I look forward to keep doing this every year.
What were your expectations coming into the year?
Just to be able to get on the field and make some plays, to be honest.
Seems like Rashee even, kind of went past his expectations in 2023. So I think that just shows you how up and down the offense has been this year. But no, I think he even was a little bit surprised in how he surpassed his expectations.
Yeah, I think he's due for a big game in this one. I saw he was listed on the injury report with his ankles. That was on Thursday, I think. But then he was off the injury report by Friday and listed as a full participant. I think Ryan Tracy of RGR Football said that he got stepped on at practice or something like that, or I guess his feet got tangled up, and that's what it was. But really, it was nothing. So it sounds like he'll be a full go in the Super Bowl, and I think he's going to have a huge game.
He will definitely be good to go. Trust me, he's not going to miss this game. And like you said, he's probably primed for a big game. He had that breakout game against the Dolphins in the wild card round. I think he is a prime example of somebody that takes some of the pressure off Travis Kelce. It's either Travis Kelce or Rashee Rice is going to have a big game in this Super Bowl. I think saying it's going to be Rashee Rice is not a bad take at all.
No, I think they're really going to need both of them to step up.
Yeah.
to beat the Niners, in my opinion. But one more Chiefs one. We're going to go with Isaiah Pacheco, who you got to talk to. So here goes that.
Played in this game before, do you have any nerves going into the Super Bowl, or is it just different because you played in it now?
No, when you're prepared, you're not nervous. That's what it's all about. When you're competing, just having that mindset of getting the job done. We get all out there on the field, knowing what's at stake.
He was a pretty good interviewer, but at the same time, like he had a lot of people asking him questions. A question that he answered by somebody else was like what it was like joining the Chiefs, playing with Patrick Mahomes, and he talked about how like he played with Patrick Mahomes in Madden like a week before he joined the team, and like now he was actually playing with Patrick Mahomes, so he had to get used to like how fast is he going to throw these balls? I got to catch these balls first of all, and that was a pretty cool answer. But yeah, he's a pretty happy guy as well.
Yeah, I think there is. You can tell with a lot of these guys just how grateful they are to come from college and then immediately join the best organization in football. And they're just already like Trent McDuffie's playing in his second Super Bowl in his second year. Like, that's just insane to me. Rashee Rice, rookie, leading receiver on a Super Bowl team. Isaiah Pacheco has a chance to be a back-to-back Super Bowl winning running back. Like, it's just these guys are having the time of their life right now.
They really are.
All right, so a couple Niners. You got to talk to a couple Niners. We're going to play those. So Fred Warner is going to be the first one. He's probably the best player on the 49ers defense. He actually had an interception on Patrick Mahomes in Super Bowl 54. He's going to be a big challenge because he's such a good coverage linebacker. We'll talk about that aspect a little bit later, but let's see what Fred Warner had to say.
Isaiah Pacheco kind of gets unnoticed. How do you think that he's going to play in this game? And I guess how do you go about stopping Isaiah Pacheco?
Yeah, I'm sure he likes it that way. I mean, when you get to when you get to be behind the scenes and people probably aren't talking you up as much and aren't thinking about you, you kind of just you sneak right by and you get to have that big game that you've been looking for. And we're not taking him lightly. We're not sleeping on him at all. This is somebody I have a lot of respect for the way that he plays, the way he runs the football. I think he should get talked about more, but it's hard obviously when you're playing with two guys that were Hall of Famers. Currently playing. So I think, yeah, he's gonna be a huge point of emphasis on Sunday.
Fred Warner was amazing. He gave such a great answer. He went deeper than I thought he was gonna go. Yeah, and he's a really high character guy too.
Yeah, I gotta say too, I love those Super Bowl hats. Those Super Bowl hats are so cool. I need to
They're pretty sick.
Get one. All right, then we got Charvarius Ward, former Chief. I saved this one for last because I think it's most interesting getting to talk to a player that was a Chief a couple of years ago playing against the Niners, and now it's the other way around. And let's see what he had to say.
Bruce, you played for the Chiefs a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Do you still talk to anybody on that side? And did you talk to anybody going into this game?
No, I haven't talked to any of those guys this week, but I mean, of course, since I left, I talked to some of those guys, some of the DBs, and some of the guys that I was cool with. Last time before the game, I was giving out too many hugs, high fives, and handshakes though when I played last year.
Did you get reprimanded for that? Did you get in trouble for that?
I wouldn't say I got in trouble, but I kind of lost focus. I feel like it contributed me to losing a little focus. You know what I'm saying? So just try to be more focused leading up to this game and pregame as well when I see him out there warming up.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that he said that he didn't get in trouble, but he lost focus when he was, hugging and dapping up some of the guys that he played with, the year before. I think that was probably something that his coaching staff wasn't super thrilled about.
Yeah, I don't think these teams like each other that much.
No, I don't think they do.
Well, and we'll get into that. I think it's time we get into our preview. It was an awesome experience that you got to have going down there to Vegas for Super Bowl Media Week. And now we're here. The Super Bowl is tomorrow. Like, it's crazy to think all the trials and tribulations of the Chiefs season have led to them playing in Super Bowl 58 tomorrow against the San Francisco 49ers. I know I said we're about to get into our preview, but I got to know from you, Michael, like, what is your plans tomorrow? How are you going to be watching this game? Because I'm probably just going to be locked in a room with the TV watching the game, and I'm going to be nervous until the clock hits 0.
Well, the girlfriend wanted to go watch it at a bar in
Oh, no,
Lawrence
you can't
and
do
be
that.
and
You
no,
can't
no,
do
no, no,
that.
no, no. And be in Lawrence if they win to rush Mass Street. And I told her, hey, I love you. I will not be doing that. I will be at my family's house with a select group of people, and I'll be watching the game with family, and that is it. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to go watch this game at a bar,
Yeah, you can't
especially
do
with
it.
everybody else, just screaming. Because I can tell my mom to shut up. I get like, hey, I'm trying to watch the game right now. I can't tell, 400 people to shut up so I can pay attention to what's going on. So no, I will be at my parents' house watching this game. It's also just, I don't know how you are with your family, but football for us is something that kind of brings us all together. And some of my fondest memories are watching really big games with my parents. So I'll be at home watching it, but I hope you're not going to a bar.
No, so my family always had a Super Bowl party. Now it's a little bit different this year because my wife and I are moved into our first house, and we're living out of state for the first time with the Chiefs playing in the Super Bowl and everything. And so we kind of get to do our own thing. We're staying home. We're going to cook some of our own food. I'm going to eat before the game because I'm going to be too nervous to eat during the game. And yeah, my family typically would have a Super Bowl party. If I was home, I would not be going to the Super Bowl party. Back in 2019, I didn't go to that one. There's no way. I watched the game at home by myself. Then there was 2020, didn't have a party because COVID. And then 2021 didn't make the Super Bowl. 2022, that one I was actually in tech school for that. So, or not tech school. I was here. I was here already. I was just in my dorm room though. So that's where I watched that one. And that was nice. I was in a dorm room by myself. There was nowhere else for me to go but my room to watch that game. But yeah, I mean, tomorrow, man, I'm just going to be in a room somewhere in this house watching the game and yeah, hoping for the best. I'm confident about this matchup though, but the first thing I will say is I don't want to get too confident about this matchup because I feel like the vibe from Chiefs fans this week has been very confident. And it's like, hey, we beat this team before. We beat this team a year ago. And not only did we beat them, but we whooped them and we had Patrick Mahomes and everything, and they had Brock Purdy, but you really need to respect this Niners team. They're a really good team. They're here for a reason. They had two guys that had a real case to make for the MVP award. This is tough because, I remember when we went into the Cincinnati Bengals AFC Championship a couple years ago, Michael, we were like, oh, yeah, no way that the Chiefs don't win this thing and go to another Super Bowl. We felt like they were a team of destiny after knocking off the Bills, and we were super confident, maybe a little too confident. And then we got our hearts broken and we're like, what the hell just happened? And so I'm not trying to get too confident because I don't want this to be like 2021 where we just were guaranteeing a Chiefs victory pretty much, and then it comes back to bite us in the ass.
I definitely am not as confident as everybody else has been. And I think that's because I just have too much respect for the 49ers. I think they are a really good football team. Now, that is to say that I don't really love Brock Purdy in this game. I mean, listen, Patrick Mahomes struggled in his first Super Bowl, and Brock Purdy hasn't looked great in this postseason. So for that reason, I feel confident. I also feel confident in the Chiefs' ability to, play in these games. But this game is not going to be easy by any means. And if anything, watching the 49ers come back against the Lions makes me even a little bit more worried because our defense is good and the Lions defense is not very good, but still they have that comeback power. And that is something to be concerned about. But I think Chiefs fans need to calm down because you mentioned the 2021 AFC Championship game. I think back to every time that I've been super confident, they've lost. That AFC Championship game in 2018 against the Patriots, they lost that. They lost that Super Bowl against Tom Brady, lost that one. And also that 2021 AFC Championship game. So whenever the Chiefs are the, team that can't be beaten, they lose. So I don't like that. I don't like that the national media is picking the Chiefs to win this game. I don't know if the Chiefs are favored. I still think the 49ers
They're
are
not.
favored.
They're still like a 2-point underdog.
I don't care. The national sentiment is on the Chiefs, and I hate that. Go back to doubting us. It's worked so well in the past. And Josh, I mean, we are one game away from being a legitimate dynasty, a bona fide dynasty, but we can't get overconfident because that's how you lose this game.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of people outside or very confident in the Chiefs. It feels like the Chiefs, though, are dialed in. They've said all the right things this week. The vibes around the 49ers aren't as great. Like, I'm not saying they're not confident, but they've said, like, as far as like bulletin material or making yourself look vulnerable, like complaining about the field at the practice facility or complaining about how a fire alarm went off in their team hotel and they had to evacuate or whatever. And Christian McCaffrey was saying he thinks it's an inside job and stuff. It's like, you guys, shut up. I saw the KCSN guys were calling them the San Francisco 40 whiners this week. That you could not come up with a better nickname because these guys just will not shut up. And it just feels like the Chiefs are locked in, not worried about anything else. And so, yeah, maybe on the outside, maybe the national media is picking the Chiefs, but I think the Chiefs are going into this game like they're being treated like the underdog and like they have something to prove.
Well, they definitely do have something to prove, but I know a lot. My buddy specifically says like, oh, like this team is so locked in. They know what it's like to try to win back-to-back Super Bowls and kind of get overconfident. And while that is partially true, this team is very different. There's a lot of new guys on the roster. So for that same reason, I'm not like, oh, we beat the team, this Niners team last year by a ton of points, so it's going to be the same result. No, these are two completely different teams. And for that reason, you really have to pay attention to how they've changed. But yeah, I mean, I do think that the Chiefs need to treat this game like they are the underdog, because when they are the favorite, they normally, I don't want to say get overconfident, but they play down to their competition. They make mistakes. And in the past, they've won those games. But with this year and the wide receiver core being what they are, you can't be doing that.
Yeah, I'm with you there, man. But I am confident. I'm cautiously optimistic, I should say. I feel really good about this game. I think when you have the best defense in the NFL and you have an elite quarterback and a much better quarterback in this game, that just feels like such a safe bet to pick the Chiefs to win. But I'll ask you, Michael, what does scare you about the San Francisco 49ers? Because we've talked about it, even after the AFC Championship game and throughout the week, that this team they're loaded at the skill positions. You got George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, all those guys. And then they got some names on defense too. But I mean, what scares you the most about this Niners team? Whether it's one player or just something that they do well that attacks the Chiefs' weakness. What do you think?
I don't really like the idea of Christian McCaffrey running on this defense. Christian McCaffrey was just voted the offensive player of the year. Yeah. He's the best running back in football. I'm not scared of Christian McCaffrey, but I'm definitely a little bit worried because he is going to make it very difficult for this Chiefs defense to get off the field. It adds a wrinkle. This is going to have to be a Drew Tranquill legacy game, Josh.
Yes.
We're gonna have to see Drew Tranquill play like Jordan in the finals, because Christian McCaffrey is something else. And I'm not really worried about Brock Purdy. I think he's kind of what Jimmy G was. He's not a guy that you fear, but he is capable enough to get the job done. He's proved that up until this point. But I'm not really scared of anything about the Niners. I'm more scared that the self-inflicted wounds of the Chiefs comes back. Like, that to me is what terrifies me, because if we start seeing the MVS drops or, Kadarius Toney, which we might talk about in a minute, who could potentially play in this game. I don't think he does, but he has been practicing. And Josh, I think if Kadarius Toney plays in this game, you got to have some serious questions about the head coach moving forward, especially if we lose the game. Like with what D'Arcy Toney has done all season long, if we lose this game because of him, oh man. But no, I'm scared about the self-inflicted wounds. Outside of that, I'm not really concerned.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. And like this wide receiver core too, especially, and like their best receiver is Rashee Rice. He's a rookie. You worry maybe just a little bit if this being his first Super Bowl playing on this big of a stage, if he could potentially fumble that ball, or he kind of has that. Well, I know he's been in the NFL for a full season now, but kind of that welcome to the NFL type of moment that a Niners defender could put on him. You mentioned Kadarius Toney. So I had Price Carter of Arrowhead Addict on earlier this week, and I asked him like 6 burning questions, and I asked him about Kadarius Toney or Sky Moore, because you're talking about Kadarius Toney. I mean, between him and Sky Moore, who would you rather see take snaps in this game? Because I feel like there's a good chance one of them plays. And I'm not saying that I agree with it, but I feel like one of those guys is active and plays in this game.
I really hope it'd be Sky Moore. Sky Moore might not be good. He might be out there getting cardio, but he doesn't actively hurt the team like Kadarius Toney does. And so for that reason, I would rather it be Sky Moore. But man, could you imagine losing this game because Kadarius Toney has the ball hit off of his hands and into the hands of Fred Warner, and the Chiefs lose this game?
You can't do it. Yeah, you can't do it. Kadarius Toney ideally is someone you would want to run and like those jet sweeps, and the 49ers have had trouble defending those and just outside zone type of stuff. I mean, even against the Lions in the NFC Championship game, Jamison Williams very early had like a 40-something yard touchdown on a sweep. And Kadarius Toney is the kind of guy that you would run that with. And Kadarius Toney kind of resembles Deebo Samuel in a way. And so it would feel kind of foolish for the coaching staff to put Kadarius Toney in this game, the biggest game of the season, after what he's done all year long, and him kind of being in the doghouse, it seems like, the last couple of weeks. I know he was like technically hurt. I don't know, man. And then he had the whole Instagram thing. It would be kind of surprising, but because Kadarius Toney is good at the type of stuff that would attack the Niners' weaknesses, has me thinking there's a good chance he does play in this game and get a few touches.
Could you imagine if this was a Kadarius Toney legacy game? Like, let's just say he comes out and like not even has anything crazy, but he makes like one play that breaks this game open. And he did it last year. He's a very different wide receiver now, but it would be. This is one of those things that he's a genius if it works and he's an idiot if it doesn't. So either he takes the gamble or he goes to the safer option. The Chiefs have so many guys that like you can't play. You really can't play Kadarius Toney. You definitely cannot play Mecole Hardman, and Sky Moore is unplayable. So it's just like, if Patrick Mahomes can win this Super Bowl with these wide receivers, man, it's going to be over for a long time because he's throwing to garbage men.
See, like with Mecole Hardman, though, he is another guy that I wouldn't like give him. I wouldn't do any more like sweeps or giving him the ball at the line of scrimmage or anything like that. But he's the kind of guy that you could stretch the field with. And if he gets open, hey, maybe Mahomes sees him and is like, well, he's wide open, so screw it. I'm throwing to Mecole. Because the Niners play a lot of single high on defense. And like that's what Miami ran when Mecole Hardman was able to get open quite a few times against Miami. Mecole Hardman just couldn't haul the ball in. But, you know, can we just get one big catch from you, Mecole? Like something. And you know, we could see him go out there, MVS too, because MVS had a really big game against the Niners last year. And I know these are two different teams, but I mean, that was going up against Charvarius Ward. Charvarius Ward is still on this team. And I feel like not enough people are talking about that too. Charvarius Ward, he's a good player, but
all pro.
Yeah. But honestly, like, come on. In my book, Charvarius Ward is not an all-pro, and L'Jarius Sneed has that all-pro spot. Okay?
Yeah.
So, you know what? Whatever. Props to Charvarius Ward, but he can be exposed, man. Like, you guys remember watching him in Kansas City. Good player. Has good instincts. He's a good cover corner, but he's good to get beat deep every so often. He did get burnt quite a bit in Kansas City. He does not do well defending double moves and like inside breaking routes. Like if you just get a double move on him, he bites a lot of the time. He can be beaten deep. MVS cooked Charvarius Ward the last time these two teams played, so you can see a little bit of that. And this team knows Charvarius Ward. They know how to attack him. Spags knows his weaknesses because he coached him for a few years. So I think that's a matchup that the Chiefs, their fans too, need to be watching in this game.
Well, we talk about matchups and this player versus that player. Let's talk about the coaching mismatch. The Chiefs have Andy Reid, who's a Hall of Famer, who is playing for his 3rd Super Bowl championship. And if he gets this ring, the legacy conversation really kicks into effect because he's changed his career forever. Like, we've always talked about Andy Reid being the guy that can't win the big game. He finally won that Super Bowl against the Niners the first time. Then he won another one. If he can get another one, history's not going to remember that he couldn't get it done, because in the back half of his career, he did. And Steve Spagnuolo, man, he has been on an absolute tear. These guys are rallying around what he's saying. They're flying around the field. They're making plays. And in a championship setting, there's nobody else I want calling this defense than Steve Spagnuolo.
Yeah, you gotta love the matchup of Spags versus Brock Purdy, especially. Like, just the things that he can do to him, and he's going to be attacking those weaknesses. He's going to be bringing pressure from so many different places. He's going to be blitzing defensive backs. He's going to find creative ways to generate pressure without Charles Omenihu being in the lineup. He's going to disguise some coverages just like they were able to do like against Miami. And Brock Purdy's going to throw somewhere where he thinks the guy's open, but they're not really open. I think you could see someone like Mike Edwards or Trent McDuffie get a pick in this game. I saw a stat on Twitter where Brock Purdy has thrown like 6 turnover-worthy passes in this postseason, and he's already thrown a couple of picks that have gotten dropped this postseason. And I just think that Brock Purdy, with how inexperienced he is in the Super Bowl and with how much of a heater Spags has been on, you got to love that matchup. And I think Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. I've said it all week. Like, I have respect for Brock Purdy. I'm not one of these people out there that's trying to downplay his ability and call him a system quarterback. Yes, Kyle Shanahan's offense is a quarterback-friendly system, and it's very scripted, which is why Brock Purdy has been so successful. But, like, again, I talked to Price Carter this past week from Arrowhead Addict, and he was like, look at it this way. How many teams could you put, like, Patrick Mahomes on, and those teams, and Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes? How many teams could you put Brock Purdy on, and Brock Purdy looks as good as he's been on the Niners? The list just isn't nearly as long as the one is with Patrick Mahomes. And it's not to say Brock Purdy's not a good quarterback. I think Brock Purdy is a top 32 quarterback in this league. But I think he can be taken advantage of, and you can get him to make some of those silly mistakes that maybe these other teams in this postseason, like Green Bay and Detroit, weren't able to capitalize on.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. I said this earlier. It kind of feels like San Francisco stumbled their way into the Super Bowl because they didn't look great against Green Bay. They escaped Green Bay. They almost lost to the Lions in a blowout fashion. And if it wasn't for the Lions defense absolutely imploding in the second half, they would have lost by like double digits. So I definitely think that this team can be exposed. Now, do the Chiefs have the offense to expose them? That's the question. We're going to have to see that. But you really got to love the Chiefs' chances of playing in this game and, using all of their advantages. And at the end of the day, man, it's not great analysis, but we have Patrick Mahomes and they don't. And 15 is the equalizer. He's the guy that changes all the things and really makes up for shortcomings. I remember in that 2019 Super Bowl, the Niners had a better team. They had everything going for them, but they did not have Patrick Mahomes on their sideline. And that was why they lost the football game. So, yeah, I mean, the 49ers are a great team, and the Chiefs might not have some of the weapons they do offensively. But at the end of the day, Brock Purdy in a shootout versus Patrick Mahomes is probably not going to be good enough to get the job done.
Yeah, and I don't want to jinx anything, knock on wood. My desk is made of wood. I should have everyone know, but the Chiefs have not had a turnover this postseason. Well, Patrick Mahomes hasn't had a turnover. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a fumble like at the end of the Miami game, but that's been it.
And really. Mecole Hardman also fumbled at the goal line because he can't the football. But
I should say that. But Patrick Mahomes has not had a turnover. That's how I should have started it. He has not had a turnover, and I think when you get to the postseason, he's not taking so many chances that he did in the regular season. He really locks in. He's not going to lose you the game. He's been really good about that this postseason and these very close games against Buffalo and Baltimore. He hasn't made the dumb play to lose you the game. But Spags has been able to force the quarterback of the other team to make those plays that did lose their team the game. It didn't really happen against Josh Allen, but definitely happened against Lamar Jackson. He just got eaten alive by this defense and turned it over multiple times. He threw into triple coverage. So you got to feel really good, like you said, with that quarterback advantage. You have the best quarterback in this game. And it sounds like lazy analysis, like you said, but the better quarterback does win this game most of the time. And then on top of it, you have the better defense. And that's just not something we could say for past Super Bowls. Past Super Bowls, like last year against the Eagles, we won that game because Patrick Mahomes is incredible and the offense was number one in the league. This offense is not number one in the league this year. But we think that they can get enough points to beat a team like the 49ers. We think they can scrape together enough points. 24-25 probably wins it. Yeah. And man, if they can just hit that, and I do feel confident that they can hit that because Andy has had 2 weeks to prepare. This team has a lot of momentum with the offense coming into this game. They've cleaned up a lot of the mistakes. They've shortened the wide receiver rotation. Like, I know we mentioned just a minute ago, McCole Hardman had a fumble. McCole Hardman played one snap against the Baltimore Ravens. And I know I said earlier on in this live stream that maybe you see him trying to stretch the field or whatever, but for the most part, Andy Reid has pretty much shortened this wide receiver rotation to Rashee Rice, MVS, Richie James, Justin Watson. Those are the guys that we see most of the time. And Andy has had 2 weeks to prepare this offense. He's had 2 weeks to come up with the game plan. I'm really excited to see what he comes out with. I think this offense is going to play a really good game. And if the defense can just do what they've done for a majority of this season, which is hold the Niners to 20 points or less, you got to feel really good. And the loss of Ameni, who's going to hurt, it really is. But I'm pretty sure Chris Jones has another $1 million on this game. You know, he's talked about how this is maybe his last game with the Chiefs, and I think he's going to wreak havoc this Sunday. I think Chris Jones is going to go out there looking to kill somebody.
This is a Chris Jones legacy game, man. I hate to say it, but it might be his last. And so for that reason, I want to see him come out and really dominate in this game. But, you know, I think defensively, the Chiefs held the MVP in Lamar Jackson to one touchdown. It was on a broken play.
Can we talk about how Lamar Jackson is the worst MVP of our lifetime? He did not deserve the award at all. His numbers were not even better than Dak Prescott's. His numbers were they were not MVP numbers. This is so lazy how we just handed the MVP award to the quarterback of the best team. I hate that they did that. He was not the MVP this year. Why is the league so afraid to say that the MVP was not a quarterback this year? CMC was more deserving. Tyreek Hill was more deserving of the MVP award. Lamar Jackson is the worst MVP of my lifetime.
Well, Josh, you know who decides who wins the MVP? It's the Associated Press, and I'm not a very big fan of the Associated Press.
And he was one, yeah, right. But he was one vote away from being a unanimous MVP. Mahomes hasn't even been a unanimous MVP. Lamar was this close to being a two-time unanimous MVP. How does this keep happening? These voters are so stupid. You guys suck. Be better.
Yeah, what can I say, man? The Associated Press is not great at making decisions, and I'm going to leave it at that. But I definitely think that the Chiefs defensively, coming off of that performance against Baltimore, holding that offense to 10 points through 4 quarters of football has me feeling very confident going into this game because the Chiefs defense isn't scared of Brock Purdy. Listen, he can't break the pocket like Lamar Jackson. He is a better thrower of the football than Lamar Jackson. I'll be honest with you, but you know, with our cornerbacks, I'm not scared of Brock Purdy sitting back there and picking you apart, especially when you have Chris Jones up front who is going to make his mark on this game early. And it just feels like if the Chiefs could get up to a 10-point lead, that might be all it takes. But we're going to have to see this offense put up 4 quarters of good football. This can't be you score in one half.
You cannot, they need to score at least a touchdown in the second half. This cannot be another second half stall out where you cling on to a 10-point lead for dear life, because this defense is fantastic. We know that, but those 49ers skill players are too good. You can't hope and pray that you're going to hold on to some first half lead. You got to keep your foot on the gas in this game. No more stall outs.
Yeah, that's just not going to cut it in this game. And I mean, listen, maybe it will cut it, but for my sake, for my sanity, just score continuously throughout the game. And if you're going to be a team that scores all your points in one half, make it the second half of football, please. Like, I can't do this. Let's score all of our points in the first half and just pray our defense holds on. I don't want to play this game like that.
Well, we've mentioned it so many times now. If this team had just like scored 25 points in every single game this year, they would have been undefeated. And so I think if they score 24, 25 points in this game, like they have to win, right? Because their defense has been so good that they've kept all these other teams to 20 points or less. They've only allowed more than 20 points like twice this year, I think. You got to break that magic number, or you got to hit that magic number. We talked about that magic number all year.
I feel good about it, Josh. I really do. And I think it's just because what's the adage? It's that defense wins championships. And Patrick Mahomes has seemingly been the, outlier to that, saying. But this season, this Chiefs defense is good enough to will a team to a championship. And that's what we've seen. When the offense hasn't been very good, the defense has stepped up, done their job above expectation, and it's how you've gotten to this point. And I'm just trying to think of it like this. Let's say this game is, 24-21 late in the fourth quarter, and Brock Purdy has the ball driving, has to go down there and score, or the game is over. You're putting the game in the hands of the Chiefs defense. I don't know about you. I'd feel very good about the Chiefs positioning at that point, because this defense, it's bend but don't. It's not even bend but don't break. It's just they don't break. They don't break, period. They don't bend even. So I really do think that they are going to be good enough to get the job done. And there's multiple angles you could take about this game. I've heard people saying the Chiefs are going to blow out the 49ers. I don't think that's the case.
That would surprise me.
But man, I'll tell you what. If our defense starts, having Brock Purdy seeing ghosts, because Sam Darnold's actually on the team, but if he has that, defense or the offense seeing ghosts, then it could be a long game for them. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Niners are too well coached for that to happen. But man, this defense, you saw what they did to the Baltimore Ravens offense.
Yeah, and they were like the number 2 offense this year, and they were really good. I got to answer this question from Tony Fuentes. He says, Josh, who's your X factor to this game? And I have an interesting answer to this. So it's not going to be one single player, but I think the X factor to this game is the linebacker group for the Kansas City Chiefs, because I wrote an article for Arrowhead Addict about how this game, or this matchup against Christian McCaffrey, is tailor-made for Drew Tranquill. Like, Drew Tranquill is going to be huge in this game. And then how you're able to stop Christian McCaffrey early and like stopping the run, because we know stopping the run has been the Achilles heel of the defense. A lot of how this game goes is going to hinge on how the linebackers perform, because if you're giving up a bunch of yards on the ground and then you have to start having your defense sell out to stop the run, then the Niners are going to be able to open up the play action. And you don't want that to happen. And we know that these linebackers outside of Drew Tranquill are not very good in coverage. This team is too stacked at the skill positions for the linebackers to be bad in this game. And like the linebackers, that's also a position where you could see some guys thrown at George Kittle. You're going to have to be able to stop George Kittle in this game. Just the linebackers need to play a good game. I don't know how else to say it. The linebackers need to play a good game.
I honestly wouldn't mind if you put Snead on Kittle for a while. I think Snead on Kittle would maybe make Kittle be a non-factor for as long as he's on him. So that would make it a little bit more difficult guarding like a Brandon Ayuk. But man, the way this secondary is playing and the guys they have back there, just say beat us. Put our best on their best and see what happens. And I think that our best is better than their best. So we'll see if the result dictates that. But I feel really good about this team. And like you said, the linebacking core is going to be the X factor. Who is going to tackle Christian McCaffrey in the backfield? Be there for when the screen passes become a phase in this game, and just rallying to the football. It's going to have to be the linebacking core. This is Willie Gay's first game back from injury. Let's see what he can do. This is maybe his last game in a Chiefs uniform. A lot on the line for the Chiefs, and I think that the linebacking core, like you said, is going to be maybe the biggest X factor in this game.
For sure. I'm glad we agree on that. Tyler Helton says we need to run the ball with Isaiah Pacheco. I also believe Tyler Helton just subscribed, so thank you for subscribing. Good to have you with us. I completely agree. The Niners have allowed over 300 yards rushing combined in their past 2 playoff games versus Detroit and Green Bay. You can run the ball on this Niners team because they have a really good pass rush. Yes, they have a good defensive line with some names on it, but like Chase Young is not a good run defender. Nick Bosa, you can definitely put him in a blender if you start running the ball left and right, running those sweeps too, which is why I'm curious to see who they use on those sweeps. Maybe it seems like a Rashee Rice thing, but we'll see what happens on Sunday. But yeah, run the ball with Isaiah Pacheco because you can run the ball in the Niners, and historically the better rushing team has a better record in the Super Bowl than the team that rushes for less yards in the game. So
Isaiah Pacheco legacy game. Let's see it. I mean, man, he's one game away from really being maybe in consideration for one of the best Chiefs running backs ever, especially with his postseason accolades and how he's performed when it really matters. I mean, man, he'd be a 2-time Super Bowl champion, and he'd be a reason why you won both games. So I think we're definitely going to have to see Isaiah Pacheco, put up 50 to 60 rushing yards, if anything, just to kind of take some of the pressure off Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things the Chiefs offense did not do well in the second half of that Baltimore game, they couldn't run the ball to save their life. And it's why some of those drives in the second half were like 1 or 2 minutes. And that's not going to be good enough against this 49ers team. I would like to see the Chiefs hold the ball for 37 minutes like they did in the last game. I think that would be a lot better than, having the time of possession battle go in the 49ers' favor. If they hold on to the football, keeps the offense on the field, keeps the 49ers offense off the field, I think that'd be a really good key to win this game.
Yeah. Also, this comment from Val Shepard says a lot of good run-heavy teams have abandoned the run early against us for good reason. We can stop the run. I mean, the numbers will tell you that this team isn't great at stopping the run, but it has gotten better in the postseason. So you're kind of right. But also part of the reason why teams have abandoned the run early against us this postseason is because the offense has gotten better and is actually, like against Baltimore, the Chiefs scored 14 points in the first half very quickly, which meant the Ravens had to get out of what they like to do the most, which is run the ball because they were trying to play catch up. That's the thing. The Ravens aren't built to come from behind. So you're partly right. I do think, though, that the run defense, and we said this a couple times now, is mostly an effort thing. I don't think they give 100% effort during the regular season, and I think they've upped the effort in the postseason, which is why it's been better. And it's really going to be an effort thing. And like you said, rallying to the football, like getting everyone on that field engaged in run support, that's going to be the biggest thing, in my opinion, when stopping the run.
Oh yeah, like effort really is the biggest key overall. Like if you put forth the effort to stop something, I think the Chiefs have the talent to do so. And I think they just say, hey, we stop Christian McCaffrey when we win this football game. We're not scared about Brock Purdy. He can throw the football, but we'll test that against our corners. And I trust Spagnuolo to make, adjustments.
We've said a few times now how the Chiefs defense has not allowed a 300-yard passer this year, and it's just really hard to see Brock Purdy for some reason being the first 300-yard passer when we've gone up against some really good quarterbacks this year. None of them have come close to 300 yards.
In the first Super Bowl, too. Like this is his first. Listen, I don't care how good you are, how great you are. You're going to struggle early. In the first Super Bowl of your career, it's difficult. Everybody's done it. Joe Burrow did it. Patrick Mahomes did it. I think Tom Brady even did it. So it's not easy to perform on this stage. And I do expect Brock Purdy to struggle early.
Yeah, I could see it, man. If you could get the Niners to start out slow and the Chiefs get out to a fast start. I know the Niners have been really good when they're from behind, but against Patrick Mahomes in this defense, you're not coming back from behind if it's a huge deficit. I just don't see that. That would probably be the most unlikely course of this game. I should mention we did get a couple injury updates. So Jerick McKinnon is questionable for this game. He was designated for return and activated, so now he's just a game time decision. Do you think Jerick McKinnon plays?
I don't know. I hope so. I think he'd be a really good addition to the offense.
If he can give you 5 to 10 snaps, That'd be nice.
Even in just pass blocking, he is fantastic. And
Yes.
with, I mean, we're going to talk about the second injury update in a minute, but like with some offensive line guys down, I don't think that, McKinnon being on the field would be a bad thing. Like, I think he'd be a good guy to have in pass pro, but
And
I can't see him making a giant impact, but he'd be nice to have.
if he's healthy enough, he might be this team's second best receiver. That's the big thing too. And his value in the red zone, because this offense has still struggled in the red zone a lot this year. And getting Jerick McKinnon back would be huge. Like, again, like you said, even if it's in pass pro or something, helping out. But we'll see. I hope he plays, man. The next one was Joe Thuney. Joe Thuney was officially ruled out. Always seemed like a long shot. Are you concerned at all about Nick Allegretti? Because I'm not.
I love Nick Allegretti. I've loved Allegretti since we drafted him. I think he is a very serviceable backup. I'm not really concerned at all. If anything, I'm more concerned about the guys that bookend him. Can they play a penalty-free football game? I had a chance to sit down and talk with Jawan Taylor one-on-one, and he kind of was talking about how he's not really thinking about the penalties, and he's just preparing and executing for this game. So I don't think that he's even thinking about it, but I think it's going to be more about the guys outside of him than Allegretti not performing, because he's been good all year long and he's pretty fierce in the running game.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about him at all in the running game. And I said it after the Ravens game, but the Ravens had Justin Madubuike, who's better than any D tackle that the Niners have this year. And Nick Allegretti held up pretty well for the most part against Madubuike. And I think with that being said, he can hold up just fine against Javon Hargrave and Eric Armstead. I think he'll be just fine.
Yeah, me too. And Armstead had some injury problems as well. He's going to play in the game. And Hargrave last year in the Super Bowl, I got to talk to him if he, learned anything, if he's going to make any adjustments. And he's kind of like, man, Patrick Mahomes is really good at football and he's hard to contain. And so, last year he was a non-factor in that game. And just because you're without Joe Thuney doesn't mean that Nick Allegretti can't hold him to being nothing as well.
And you still have Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith to help out in there. Like, I think they'll be just fine. But look, man, that's the injury report, kind of pretty much. We covered a lot in this live stream. We kind of broke down this matchup beforehand in our video we did earlier this week before you left for Vegas. So, man, I think it's time that we give our predictions and wrap this thing up. It's time. Super Bowl is here. Oof. So what do you think, Michael? What are the results?
While a lot of people out there think the Chiefs are probably going to steamroll the 49ers, I'm not as confident. I do think it's going to be one of those games, just a normal Chiefs game where it comes down to the wire. The Chiefs will probably be winning for most of it, and the Niners will make it close, and you'll start to sweat, and then the defense will make a really late game stop, and the Chiefs find a way to get this game under control, and they win Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas. I think they'll win by a final score of, we'll say, 27-24. I think that Brock Purdy is able to, get a couple touchdowns, and McCaffrey's able to run it in as well. But in the end, I think the Chiefs are able to outclass the 49ers. Let's get, Harrison Butker, late fourth quarter field goal, gives the team the lead, and they win Super Bowl 58, going back-to-back for the first time since the New England Patriots did it in the early 2000s. And Josh, we're officially a dynasty, buddy.
I hope you're right. The 49ers have a dynamic offense. The Chiefs' tendency to fall off in the second half does scare me a little bit, but the defense is playing lights out right now, and that makes you feel pretty good that if this team does put up 24, 25 points, which I think they can, they will win because they have the better defense and they have the best quarterback in the NFL. They feel like the safe bet, so I'm betting on them. It's a safe bet. I'm going to say Chiefs 24, 49ers 20. However, I don't think it's a nail biter or anything like that. I don't think it's as close as the score indicates. I think the Chiefs kind of kneel it out at the end, and there's not going to be much drama. Kansas City Chiefs win this one. They are your Super Bowl 58 champions, and like you said, this will be a dynasty.
Josh, we are living in the best time to be a Kansas City sports fan and a Kansas City Chiefs fan. We are witnessing the golden age of Chiefs football, and we just predicted the Chiefs would win another Super Bowl, and they are 24 hours away 60 minutes of football from completing one of the best runs in NFL history. And we're a part of this.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I hope they finish the job too, just to make your experience that you had down in Vegas that much sweeter. The fact that you would have covered a Super Bowl that the Chiefs won. So I hope they finish it, man. I'm nervous, but I'm cautiously optimistic.
Me too. I think as Chiefs fans, we're always going to be cautiously optimistic, but it just feels like with the defense playing the way that they are and Patrick Mahomes on your side, they are the team to bet for and put your money on. And I think they're going to win it. I think they're going to win their second Super Bowl in 2 years.
All right, so there you guys have it. That is our Super Bowl prediction. That will wrap up our preview. But before we hop off, Michael, why don't you let everyone know where they can find you?
You guys can find me on YouTube at KC Sports Report. Go check out the social medias. I posted a bunch of the interviews that I got done at Radio Row on Twitter at the Michael D'Arcy, Instagram also as well at the Michael D'Arcy, and go to the Bleacher Report mobile app and look for Michael_D'Arcy. That's my Bleacher Report profile. Go ahead and throw me a follow on that. And yeah, it's been a blast covering this team. Hopefully they win one more, Josh.
Yes, sir. And you guys can find all that stuff down below in the description, all of Michael's socials and that good stuff. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. Make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com. We will see you all on the other side. Go Chiefs.